So guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I came across this article in Outside Online, and I think that's what we're going to talk about this week. So the article is titled, How Pregnancy Affects Your Marathon Time. Now, if you are anything like me, chromosomally speaking, then it's probably not going to affect your marathon time too much. But for about half of our population that has the potential to experience a pregnancy, it could affect their marathon time. You would think it might. So that's what we're talking about today. And the reason I'm talking about this today, specifically, is because the last two studies that I have looked at, the last couple of weeks we've been looking at stuff, they have only had male participants in their study. So this week, in the study we're going to be talking about, only looks at females. And guys, if you think this is unfair, that we're talking about a study that only looks at females, feel free to voice your opinions in the comments. I'm always happy to see someone get roasted. Okay, so this article in Outside Online was based on a study that was completed in June of this year. And it was a retrospective study, it was just published in June of this year. And the study was titled, Does Maternity During Sports Career Jeopardize Future Athletic Success in Elite Marathon Runners? And of course, I will link to both the Outside Online article and the study article in the show notes below. So remember a couple of years ago when Nike was in the news for nothing good about how they were cutting the pay of their female athletes once they got pregnant? Well, luckily Nike has rectified this, but it used to be that, and I think Phoebe Wright said it best, that getting pregnant is the kiss of death for a female athlete. And I think we're heading in the right direction now, obviously with a long way to go, but there's good reason for heading in the right direction, because this study looked at the 150 top female marathoners in history. And amongst those top runners, they looked at the runners that had experienced a pregnancy during their career. And they came up with 37 women. And these women weren't just marathoners. The way they got into the database was that they had to run one elite level performance between 1500 meters and the marathon, both before and after pregnancy. Now, out of these 37 athletes, 23 had one child during their career at an average age of 28.3 years, and the other 14 athletes had two children at the average ages of 24.7 at 32.6 years old. So get this, and I think this is pretty astounding. So overall, 26 out of the 38 women ran their fastest times after they had their first child. So if we break it down a bit more, amongst the athletes that had one child, 8 of them ran their fastest time before they had a child, and 15 ran their best time after. In the athletes that had 2 children, only 3 of them ran their best times before they had the children. 5 ran their best times in between kids, and 6 ran their best times after they had 2 children. So obviously there is a big confounding variable here, and that's age. So it's very difficult to tell if the athletes that did not do as well after pregnancy was because they are a year or 2 older, or for some other reason. So to account for the effects of age, the researchers used mathematical modeling to plot the typical career trajectory of female marathoners. And for the 37 women in the study, when plotted against a graph, it looks something like this. So it seems pretty obvious when we see the 37 participants in this study against the typical trajectory, and that there's really no difference whatsoever. The timing of the pregnancy had no apparent effect on how fast these women could run their elite level races. In fact, it looks like the women who had their first child before the age of 31.7 years tended to get better post-pregnancy than those who had a child after 31.7 years. So clearly we're missing quite a bit of data here to get a real world analysis, and the Outside Online article does recognize this. There are definitely going to be these hypothetical runners whose careers were derailed by pregnancy. And of course there's always derailed in a negative term and derailed in a positive term. Perhaps they just didn't want to go back to elite level running after they had their first child. So while it is fairly obvious that being pregnant will affect elite level training, I think it's pretty reassuring that over the long term, with appropriate rest, with appropriate training, with appropriate recovery from the pregnancy actually has no effect on how fast these elite level women can run. I think that's absolutely amazing. And I bet Nike feels pretty bad about docking these women's pay so much just because they got pregnant, when it would have been so easy to just support their pregnant athletes all along, knowing that they can really come back just as strong as they were pre-pregnancy. So my friends, I want to hear from you. Now I know like 90% of people that watch this channel are men, but men, perhaps you have experience with the partners, maybe someone you know in your life that has been an athlete, had a baby, and then come back and has been stronger than ever. And I do know that I've got a fair number of women that watch this channel that have had children and are still crushing it. So even though that this study that I've just told you about is really good news, I think the best news is that it supports my own little data set of this YouTube channel. What do you think? Let me know. Women, I'd really like to hear from you, your experience with pregnancy and then coming back and returning to the level that you were pre-pregnancy. Well, guys, I had a pretty good week of running, I gotta say. Now, it started off pretty tough because I did have a very hard weekend of running before the week started. Remember, I did that trail run, there was a lot of ups and downs, and I gotta say that workout really thrashed me. But I started off on Monday with 8.1 miles, very easy, just going out there and putting in the time on the road. Tuesday was a workout day. Tuesday is usually supposed to be the day that I do my intervals, but I just wasn't in the mood. And when I say I wasn't in the mood, my legs were really heavy. My legs were still sore from Saturday's workout. So I decided to bag it. And I ended up running 7.7 miles, very easy. But at the end, I did throw in 10 30-second strides. Even though I didn't feel like running fast, I didn't feel like putting in an effort, I put in 10 30-second efforts. And I gotta say that I felt pretty good at the end of that run because of the small effort that I put in. So this is a lesson that we all know. It's a lesson that I learned again. And that when you put in just a little bit of hard running, it really pays dividends. And you end up feeling better than you would have if you didn't do those harder efforts. You know what I'm saying? At least that's how it works for me. Wednesday was another easy day, 10.1 miles, just super cruisy, getting that time on my feet before work. And then Thursday, I knew when I woke up Thursday morning that I was feeling a little better. It just took a couple of days of easy running for me to get my legs back. And Thursday was another workout day. Thursday is when I usually try to do my tempo run. And I did 11 miles total. I warmed up for 2 miles, then I did a 10K at tempo pace, and then I cooled down for 2.8 miles. And whew, I knew that if I put on a pair of faster shoes, I'd be more likely to go out and take care of business, even if I wasn't feeling like it when the time came to pick up the tempo pace. And it worked, although it was toasty, and those Endorphin Pros were absolutely soaked through at the end of that run. But that doesn't matter because I've got newspaper, I stuffed them. And the other thing with pushing myself on Thursday was that I knew that Friday was going to be my day off. Even though Saturday was a work day for me, I still wanted to get a little longer run in than I have done the rest of the week. So Saturday was technically my long run. I did knock out 14.1 miles, and it was a very good run. Nice and easy. I actually listened to some music, so that helped pass the time, and really nothing more to say about it. It was just a nice long run, bright and early in the morning. I think I got started right after 3. Sunday was a little different story. Sunday actually turned out to be a full day off for me, which is my second day off this week, which I don't usually do. But I woke up with incredible vertigo, and I could barely walk from my bed to the bathroom without feeling sick. So that lasted for about a couple hours, and by the time I started feeling better, I decided to just scrap my run, take it as a rest day. And I'm gonna call that a win, because I know that I don't rest as much as I probably should. But still, even with that extra rest day, it brought my week's total to 51.1 miles, which is about 82.24 kilometers. So still, pretty happy with how last week went. Now, my friends, don't forget, let me know about your week of running, successes and setbacks. And if you've had a baby and you kept running after, I want to hear about your experience. How was it coming back? And did you reach the level that you were before having a baby? And guys, if you know anyone that has done that, let me know about them. Thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.